Welcome back to Best Recaps. Today, I'm going to explain the movie The Walk, released in the year 2015. The story begins in 1973 in the beautiful city of Paris, introducing the main character, Philippe Petit, a street performer who amazes audiences with his performances. He did it without legal permission. Philippe is always looking for a place to hang the rope, he explains, to demonstrate the expertise of tightrope walking. On one occasion, while collecting money from the audience, a spectator dropped candy on his hat. As an actor, Philip played games with candy. Finally, he took the candy in his mouth and bit it until he broke a tooth. To treat the severe pain, Philip went to the dentist. What caught his eyes while reading a magazine in the dentist's waiting room was enough to make him forget the pain in his teeth. He saw pictures of the unfinished twin towers of the World Trade Center, which are expected to be the tallest buildings in the world when completed. When Philip saw it, he tore a page of the magazine and took it with him. He dreamed of hanging a rope between two towers and walking on it. Philip is obsessed with wire walking, but to understand why that, we have to go back to his childhood. When he was 8 years old, Philip once snuck into a circus show in his town. There, for the first time in his life, he saw a man walking on a cable. And needless to say, Philip was pickpocketed in no time. Even after the show was over, he kept on staring at the wire, questioning how it was possible. Determined to learn to wire walk himself, Philip ties 5 ropes between 2 trees and begins to walk on them. Day by day, as he grows older and confident in his skills, the number of wires went down, and soon he was walking on a single wire. But he still questioned if he could walk on the wires set at a great height. So he sneaks into the circus and tries to walk the wire. But just before he could make his first move, an old man yelled at him and told him to stand down. An old man named Papa Rudy happens to be the leader of the circus. After descending the ladder, Philippe impresses Papa Rudy with his talent, who decides to bring him under his command. Papa Rudy invites Philippe to his home, and while discussing his stage presence and respect for the public, Philippe makes the mistake of calling himself an artist and not a circus clown. Needless to say, he was fired by Papa Rudy. Despite his parents' objections, Philippe leaves home and everything to pursue his dream. This is the story of his arrival in Paris. One day, while looking for a place to perform, he came across a girl named Anne performing on the street with her guitar. Philippe decided to show his talent on the spot. Before long, the audience was all turned to him, leaving Anne without an audience. Philippe later gets confronted by Anne and defends himself by saying he was just trying to scare the audience. After their argument, it starts to rain. Philippe takes his bag, takes a restaurant umbrella, and walks with Anne. Philippe asks her out for a drink in return that he never performs anywhere near her. While having drinks together, Philippe tells Anne about his dream of wire walking on the tallest building in the world. After sharing more about each other, they fall in love, and Anne invites him to her art school to practice. Philippe starts wire walking at a much taller height. One day, a photographer named Jean-Louis sees Philippe and asks to take his photograph. Philippe lets Jean-Louis photograph him and further tells him about his dream of wire walking between the Twin Towers. Jean-Louis gets impressed by Philippe's extraordinary ambition, and Philippe tells him that he can be his official photographer. Just when Philippe is talking about his dream, he gets hit by reality as the ropes tied to the trees get loose, and Philippe falls to the ground. Jean-Louis reminds him that if this happens during his stint in New York, he'll lose his life. To better understand rope tying, Philippe goes back to Papa Rudy. He offers to pay money in return for teaching him everything he knows about wire walking. Papa Rudy accepts his offer and accepts him. He learns to tie a rope from Papa Rudy and travels with him as the show's assistant. Philippe is unable to perform, but at the end of the performance, he is given a chance to practice on the wire. Impressed by his dedication, Rudy's dad gives him a chance to perform at a small-town festival. Philippe begins to walk on the lake on a tightrope, but the environment around him isn't ideal. Fishermen in the lake begin to disturb him, and he loses focus. As a result, in front of Anna, Jean-Louis, Papa Rudy, and all the festival participants, Philippe falls into a lake and fails. Embarrassed by his failure and trying to overcome it, Philippe decides to walk the tightrope between the towers of Notre Dame. With the help of Jean-Louis, Philippe sneaks into the cathedral and binds steel cables between the towers. He then successfully completes the hike by performing stunts in front of many tourists early in the morning. He gets cheered on by onlookers, but what he just did was illegal, so he gets caught by the police. Philippe gets labeled a vandal by the newspapers, but in the same paper, he sees pictures of the Twin Towers. Philippe takes it as a sign and believes that it's his destiny to wirewalk between those towers. Together with Anne, he travels to New York to see the towers in person. Philippe gets scared of how tall the towers are, and he feels that it's impossible to hang the wire on that height. However, he took the construction elevator to the unfinished observatory. He walks on the beam to feel how he can do it, and almost instantly feels confident that he can do it. He returns to France and begins to plan exactly how he will accomplish this feat. Anne and Jean-Louis agree on accomplices, but there are concerns about how to set the cables to a height where the ropes won't wobble. To do this, Philippe goes back to Papa Rudy, advising him how to set up the ropes and use safety gear. Tightrope player Papa Rudy doesn't want him to fall. However, Philippe rejects the idea and says that he will defeat the whole purpose. After a brief fight between the two, Rudy's dad decides to support Philippe and returns all the money to him to fund the plan. Philippe begins training to adapt to the strong winds he will face on the Twin Towers. Jean-Louis then introduces a man named Jeff who wants to be an accomplice to Philippe's plans. Mathematician Jeff will help you with important calculations. Then, Jean-Louis shows you how to reach the tower's ropes with archery. Everything seems to be going in Philippe's direction. He marks August 6, 1974 as the date to carry out his plans. He flies back to New York with his colleagues. To learn more about the building, the people who work within it, and to make the necessary measurements, Philippe wears a different mask every day to visit the tower. And to measure the exact distance between the two towers, poses as a reporter from France and asks questions directly to the construction manager. So far, everything has been easy for him. But one day, Philippe, disguised as an architect, steps on a piercing nail. He can't walk for days with a broken leg, but Philippe doesn't delay his plans. The next day, on crutches, he returns to the tower to gather all the information available. Then one day, he discovers a man who recognizes him as a notorious tightrope walker from France. The man introduces himself as Barry and works on the 87th floor of the North Tower. Knowing how useful he is, Philippe invites him to dinner and tells him all about his plans. Seeing how serious Philippe was in pursuing his dream, Barry agrees to become an insider and help him gain access to the roof of the North Tower. With most of the plans completed, Philippe and his team need a walkie-talkie that can communicate and the police can't hear the conversation. To this end, a man named Jean-Pierre helps them with a wired radio and introduces two new accomplices. Albert and David helped him tie the wires. With the whole team coming up with a plan, Philippe is only one day away from fulfilling his dream of walking the tightrope on the Twin Towers. He has trouble sleeping the night before. He got out of bed and started nailing the box with the cable, thinking it was his coffin. The next day, Philippe and his team drive to the World Trade Center. With Barry's help, Albert and Jean-Louis can access the North Tower with their gear. Philippe kisses Anne and boards the delivery van to reach the South Tower with the rest of the accomplices. Disguised as deliverymen, they board the elevator to the 110th floor. As they lower the cables, you can hear the guards approaching. David runs away immediately, fearing that he will be caught. Philippe and Jeff hide under a tarp that dangerously covers the elevator shaft. The two men cling to their precious lives, waiting for the guards to leave. After hours of waiting, Philippe begins to hallucinate that Jeff has passed away. He comes and sees the guards disappear. They immediately crawl under the tarpaulin and carry the cables to the top floor. He signals Jean-Louis in the other tower to shoot arrows that will help connect the cables to the two towers. Jean-Louis shoots an arrow, but Philippe does not find him. He frantically searched for the arrow and finally found it hanging from the roof. Just before the arrow falls to the ground, Philippe catches the arrow. Then, he uses the arrows to first connect the wired walkie-talkie and communicate with each other. They then start laying wires between the South and North Towers. It's almost morning and the wires aren't over yet. Albert in the Northern Tower quits because he fears he will be caught. Jean-Louis informs him that Albert also took a camera with him and plans to sell photos of everything they do. Even after one of his accomplices is rescued, Philippe still hopes they can escape before sunrise. He continues to work on his side and Jean-Louis on the other side. Anne and Jean-Pierre are looking at the wires tied down below. As soon as the wires are installed, the mysterious figure climbs to the roof. He looks at what Philippe had set up and gives him a nod of approval. Philippe walks back and Jeff points to him that he was holding a steel pipe. Maybe the man approved of Philippe doing the dangerous stunt, or maybe he was just scared of him. In his narration, Philippe says that he never met that man again and calls him the mysterious visitor. With everything ready, Philippe starts to put on his costume, but a part of it falls from the tower. He lost it right before the performance of his life and is upset that he doesn't want to do it anymore. But seeing the face of the accomplice, Philippe decides to do so. As the sun is just starting to rise, he grabs the balance bar and starts walking on the wire. With every step he takes, he gets closer to his dream. His friends are watching him from below, and Anne begins to turn everyone's attention to Philippe. Halfway through, Philippe is confident and smiles. He soon arrives at the North Tower, completing a stunt while the audience cheers from below. However, Philippe is dissatisfied with the fact that he has achieved what he had dreamed of. It seems that another tower is calling him, so he decides to walk back to the South Tower. Philippe goes his own way again, this time with more confidence than before. He is so confident in himself that he even kneels on the wire. As he tries to reach the South Tower, 2 police officers appear and prepare to arrest him as soon as he steps on the barbed wire. However, Philippe decides to step back and return to the North Tower to break the most important rule of the tightrope. Philippe enjoys the moment as he watches the audience. Soon, more cops arrive at the ends of both towers, but, ignoring them, Philippe starts walking up and down the wires. Police officers convince him to cut the wire, but Philippe doesn't feel it's time for him to stop speaking. He starts walking backwards and performs all kinds of tricks. Even a helicopter is sent to have him stop his stunt. Philippe returns to the South Tower and finally decides to stop it. He gets offline and quietly surrenders to the police. Thousands of spectators watching him applaud his feat, and his friends sighed in relief. Construction workers clapped times when the police took him away. And when he is arrested, the police are also surprised by what he has done. The news that he walked the tightrope of the Twin Towers is known around the world, and Papa Rudy sheds tears. After being released from his custody, Philippe is celebrating with his friends. Express gratitude for believing him and not giving up on your dreams. Unfortunately for him, Anna decides to go back to France and follow her dreams. For his astonishing achievement, he received a lifetime pass to the observation deck of the tower. He visited several times in his lifetime, and when he showed the pass to spectators, a smile never left his lips. The movie ends with the final scene of the tower. That was all from the video. I hope you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this and hit the like button to help us out. Also, leave a comment if you want us to recap your favorite movie. Until the next time, take care.